All right, everybody. Good morning. And it is indeed a good morning. And I know I'm a little bit late to this one. I know that this has been in for a little bit more than an hour now. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and bask and celebrate in the news that we have been waiting for months now, finally being made official. Per Jordan Schultz and many other sources, the Seattle Seahawks and Devon Witherspoon have finally sealed the deal on the long-term extension and made Devon Witherspoon a Seahawk for the foreseeable future. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. So let's go ahead and talk about it. It is basically what we expected. It is essentially the kind of deal that I think we all anticipated him getting. And for the most part, I think the deal that we wanted him to get. So 4 years, $132 million, which makes him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. And I think we all knew that whatever the contract was, it was going to make him the highest paid corner in NFL history. That was like the floor. 101 million guaranteed, which beats out Trent McDuffie's record by 1 million, I believe, because his guarantee was 100, and it's good. It's done. So finally, after an extended, I don't want to say contract drama because it's not like Witherspoon was causing problems, but after an extended, confusingly long, I guess you could call it a skirmish, it is in the books. And Devon Witherspoon's going to be a Seahawk for a long time now. I'm relieved. I wasn't really ever really concerned that anything too bad was going to happen, but I was definitely aware of the fact that every day that went by made it more and more likely there was going to be some kind of an issue here. And I'm also relieved, of course, that as it turns out, the money that he gets is totally reasonable. Like, when you consider the fact that he is the next man up and you take a look at the guys who have gotten paid big bucks in the last several months, like Trent McDuffie and now Denzel Ward, this is more or less what you would expect, I think, especially for a guy coming off a Super Bowl title. There's always that little bit of a Super Bowl winner tax, and the fact that he just made his first All-Pro team. You put it all together, and it comes out really, really agreeably. So this is what, $33 million a year? And that's, by the way, just to keep this in mind, just the extension. As Curtis Allen points out here, this is tacked on to the 2 years he had left on the deal. Because remember, we did pick up the fifth-year option. And when you take the 4th year that he had coming up and the 5th-year option, it works out to about $27 million a year over 6 years. So in terms of the average value of this contract over the next 6 years, it is pretty agreeable. $27 million a year. There's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I don't think there would be anything all that wrong even about the $33 million a year number. But regardless, this is, I think, a pretty big success. And getting him for the extra year, because there was some talk that it would just be a 3-year extension, I think that's also great because it's one more year until he can get back to the market and try to renegotiate. And in this case, I believe that works to our advantage. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer, best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today and remember to always gamble responsibly. All right. So now we got to concern ourselves a little bit with Leonard Williams. There is still more work to be done, but we've got plenty of time for that. And the urgency around that one, I think, is a little bit reduced because Leonard Williams is a veteran who's already gotten a second contract in the NFL and a third contract. So I'm just going to enjoy this extension for a little while here. Witherspoon is now on a 6-year contract. And look, I think we all understand that when you get to the end of that contract, he's probably not going to actually see those years. Either he's going to get extended again or he's going to get let go or traded or whatever. But nevertheless, his services are secured for the long term here. And you take a look at it. You take a look at the list. Yeah, he got more than McDuffie. He got more than Ward, but it's a reasonable and logical step up. We didn't go crazy. And I know it kind of looks like things went a little bit crazy, but that is inevitable when you're talking about guys that win the Super Bowl, guys that do accomplish that, especially in the most recent game they've played in before the extension comes down, because the Super Bowl was literally the last game Witherspoon played in before this extension. There's going to be a little bit of a tax. And this is really not that much of a tax in my mind. Like, I was thinking 34, 35 was possible, and 36, 37, 38, that's where I was starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. That's where I was starting to wonder, well, what's the point then? Why do that when we can just wait and keep him on a much cheaper and flexible deal for another year if he's asking for that? But maybe he was asking for that, but he did not get anywhere near that. 33 million per, I think, is about what you would have anticipated. Maybe some people would say it should have been around 32 because that's kind of the step up that McDuffie got. But I think the important thing to keep in mind here, you don't want to grandstand and you don't want to get twisted up into knots about tiny overpays. And I don't even know if this is an overpay. I don't really think that it is. But even if it is, for superstars, which Devon Witherspoon is, you don't want to get twisted up into knots about maybe overpaying him by some tiny amount. It doesn't matter. He's a superstar. You want to get worried about overpaying role players and good starters, guys that are replaceable. Those are the guys you don't want to overpay. Witherspoon is irreplaceable. His skill set cannot be replaced. So even if we did overpay by some tiny amount, who cares? You can't argue that we overpaid him by a bunch, right? Because it was his turn. He was going to get at least 32. That's been preordained for a while. And I don't think Denzel Ward's influence here was a real factor because he didn't get some massive step up over what Denzel Ward got. So taking a look at where the deal was and where the deal will be, if you go to his Spotrac page, we don't know exactly how the contract's going to break out, but the cap hit he's got for 2026 before this extension was 10.1 million. So we'll see where it goes now because 10.1, our commitment to him is probably going to go up some in 2026 because remember the guarantees and stuff still apply. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly how this all plays out. But I would assume that our cap commitment to Witherspoon in the grand scheme of things is going to go up a little bit for 2026, probably down a little bit for 2027, and then we stagger from there. But we have the cap space to absorb the Witherspoon extension, even if it's like another, even if even if the cap hit ends up doubling effectively, even if it ends up an extra $10 million, it's not that big of a deal. So I believe that that still leaves the opportunity to do other things like make trades if we need to, because remember, the Leonard Williams extension, if and when it comes down, and I do believe that that will come down, that is something that is going to free up cap space. So don't worry about cap space right now, and don't worry about cap space really that much for the long term. As Curtis Allen points out, this is really ultimately now a $27 million a year deal over 6 years, and the big money will not kick in. Like the truly punishing cap hits do not kick in until pretty close to the next decade. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Great news. Love it. Reasonable, normal contract, normal deal. I am on board with this. We might have had to budge a little bit. Like we might have had to budge about $1 million a year. But there was always going to be a little bit of budge for a player like this. Because players like this, you have to work a little bit on. It's not easy to keep a guy like Devon Witherspoon around. And we did without doing anything obscene. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Preseason game later, but let's just soak this one in for a little bit here.